Welcome to another edition of the Truth Gangsters podcast. Today's topic is all about Vybz Kartel's Gaza Nation, the last hope of the People's National Party. Jamaica's reputation of violence is certainly not recently acquired. Going back to the days of 1492, when Columbus did come bust us, when old pirates rabbi and committed unspeakable acts of brutality in the form of murder, gang rape, torture, and a whole host of other blood sport. Jamaica has a well-deserved reputation of so-called leaders, men in search of power, using brute force as a means of gaining power over lands, over seas, over minerals, over people. The average Jamaican alive today would have been aware of the political wars that have been a main staple for both the People's and the Jamaica Labour Party. We would perhaps remember, those of us who are old enough to have experienced it, and even others who were not born in those times would have certainly heard tales of the famous 1980s election and how young black youth were pitted against each other, armed on both sides, and the streets of Jamaica ran with blood, fighting political wars on behalf of Michael Manley or Edward Seaga at the time. Both these parties are trying to lord over the people, desperate for leadership. And the people themselves are desperate to be led. They're desperate for freedom, liberation. These are a set of people that have a history in slavery, where they've been looking for their savior to come for many years now. And of course, Christianity has taught them to look for this savior outside of themselves. This is where political parties step in one form or the other. Gaza Nation is certainly not excluded in this quest for power. We see Jamaican people rallying around a man that was once convicted for murder, later exonerated. However, he has a history of violent intimidation, violence against women, skin bleaching, anti-blackness, sexual debauchery. Why is that? Why are so many Jamaican people rallying around this figure? We would be foolish if we don't see the sign. Vybz Kartel recommends, or rather he represents, someone who has overcome the so-called system. He beat the system. He has taken alliance with people, not unlike Michael Manley tried to do with black people in the past. He has become someone who is relatable, someone who has been wronged by the legal system, wronged by the police, wronged by the judges, wronged by even the state, and has overcome. He's the man in that sense. He's the man that everyone wants to be. Everyone wants to overcome. Quick-witted, social media savvy, and as I said before, he seems as eager to gain power as ever. What does this mean for the political climate of Jamaica? How will they treat with such a man who has such a great influence on the electorate? Do you remember what the Renaissance philosopher and author Niccolo Machiavelli said? Men ought either to be indulged or utterly destroyed. For if you merely offend them, they take vengeance. But if you injure them greatly, they are unable to retaliate, so that the injury alone done to a man ought to be such that vengeance cannot be feared. Are the political parties in Jamaica? Is one particular party in Jamaica in danger of reaping Kartel's vengeance? And will the electorate of the Gaza nation stand behind him? We've seen so many strange happenings in the last few weeks. Vybz Kartel being welcomed warmly by Prime Minister of St. Vincent, Ralph Gonsalves. We've seen Shine, I forgot his government name, but the one of the contenders for leadership in Belize rushing to Cartel's aid. These men are politicians. These men are all seeking power. Why? We hear Bob Marley in his song just now, Revolution. Never let a politician grant you a favor. He will only want to control you forever. Who's controlling who? Who's at the helm? Who's the real politician and who's the real gangster? What's happening here? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Gaza Nation. His on the people of Jamaica, impact on the political climate, his overall influence, and what does this mean in a time when we are on the heels of a national election. I have a special guest with me this evening, attorney at law Leighton Miller. Thanks for joining, Leighton. I'm so happy to have you this evening. So, Leighton, let's jump right into it. Where do we start with this issue of Vybz Kartel, Gaza Nation, and the People's National Party?
Anyway, what a brilliant introduction. Keisha, what an excellent introduction. And, it suggests so many possible avenues of departure. But let me begin with an electorate that is dwindling with each cycle in participation. I believe the turnout at the last election, percent of eligible voters voting, last general election was 30% or in that region, slightly lower for the last local government election. Now, some people might say local government elections are typically less fewer people vote in local government elections than in general elections, but one must consider that these local government elections were fought on a national level, like big media ads, the heavyweights in the party leaders traveling. This last local government election was fought like a general election in prospect of the general election due next year. So, when one considers the extremely low voter turnout, one realizes that, and the very, very close elections the last two times around, it's clear that each party is just really scoring its base, and there is a whole like 70% uncommitted electorate. Uh, and uncommitted really largely because they see no difference between the parties that have opted out of the process, in my opinion. And I think there's sufficient, polling, statistical, whatever, to bear it out. So certainly, if I had a vote, which I don't because I don't want to be fingerprinted 10 times, different issue. I would certainly choose not to vote for either PNP or JLP. However, looking at the situation, I realized that in order to attract their base, each party must necessarily alienate the uncommitted. And so I've written several Facebook pieces um, entitled the same thing, Why the PNP is Dead. And I refer to it as cannibalizing on itself. Its hardcore base is dwindling, and in its effort to scrape as much of that base as possible to eke out an electoral victory, it is necessarily making utterances and taking stances that will alienate well thinking and reasonable Jamaicans, which is mostly included in the 70+% that says a pox on both your houses. The GLP is doing substantially the same thing, but which is something we can get into. I think the PNP is in a worse position than the GLP. I think if the GLP changes its leader, it can regain some sort of attractiveness. But I think the PNP, there is no, I think the stain of that party um, is such that it will taint it. No leader can lift it. If they
Not
were to,
even not even a Vibes Cartel.
well, this is setting the stage. When I saw the reception Carter received, and I heard much of the commentary, social commentary around it, I said to you before even his visit to Gonzales or the news with Belize and opposition leader Shine, I said to you, as a matter of fact, I did a Facebook post. Whoa, that was what? Maybe nearly a week ago. Gaza nation could swing the next election, methinks. And obviously, what methinks was thought also by Shine and Gonzalez. They recognize his enormous street influence and ability by mere suggestion to make people do things that they would not have thought of doing the moment before he suggested it. And I thought it was ironic that somebody that the state had tried so desperately to put away, despite state agents also working manfully behind the scenes to assist in freeing him. Which is to say, the authentic tape of the critical, the authentic recording of the critical telephone conversations went missing despite being under, special lock and key of just one, senior officer who just come to court and say, yeah, I know I was in charge. I know it was just not there. I'm sorry. And I mean, if you want to believe that that just was coincidental, you know, I don't. And so, in any event, um, the long and short of it is that his influence is incredible, incredible. And insofar as our politicians have shamelessly, barefacedly used all kinds of lyrics and popularity of dancehall entertainers that whose social effect, influence, one would say, while certainly great, is questionable that any politician or nation building individual would endorse. But in short term capture, political expediency, they will latch on to the popularity of these entertainers, a particular lyric, don't matter if you're big enough murder, you know, misogyny, gangsterism, doesn't matter.
But you know,
Um,
Leighton, you raised an important point earlier, where you said much of the undecided amongst the electorate have arrived at that state because there's really no viable option for many Jamaicans. Just don't see it as any of the parties as being viable options. And you went on to describe them as well thinking Jamaicans would not find viable options in either party. But you don't find that contradictory then, that these well thinking Jamaicans could be swayed or influenced by someone like Cartel?
well, I did qualify to say that the well thinking Jamaicans comprised most of the 70%. I don't for a moment think that the whole 70% is well thinking. But if only 10% of the remaining 70% is well thinking, or if 90% is well thinking, doesn't matter. Whatever portion is not well thinking can carry the PNP home. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
so if even just a small percent of that uncommitted is really influenced and swayed by cartel, that is sufficient. Because what has happened is that we grew up, as you know, Keith, in a time when it was tongue in cheek said jokingly, but everybody know, the truth behind it. Jamaica is PNP country, and I have lived to see that joke that everybody would give a knowing wink and nod to, even Labourites. I've seen that joke now turn completely sour. And people be like, what do you mean this is PNP country? And I'm talking about people who are not Labourites. Like, there is a visceral, I think it's because of the excess of the 18 and a half years of PJ Patterson and Portia Simpson Miller, and the fact that Jamaicans feel really aggrieved that because of their unwillingness to vote for Siaga, they were saddled with people who had a free run and dished them dirt. And also that the PNP country was coincident with like Siaga's desire, like till death do us part, and the people's like insistence that till death then. So it's like, you know, it's like the people felt like they couldn't vote for Siaga, and their extreme antipathy against him or toward him was being used against them by the PNP, who knew that no matter how how much the electorate dwindled, no matter how much PNP people didn't come out to the polls, no matter what, they would defeat the JLP by a landslide because Seaga was there. And it has reached a point, I realize, where if a popular public figure joins the PNP, he loses status by virtue of joining the party rather than raise the party's status by his joining. And I think I last saw it with Alfred Dawes, Dr. Alfred Dawes, who, as far as I know, had a really good public profile as the president of the MAJ when he spoke out on matters of national concern, especially, regarding the health sector. I felt he was really well regarded and so on and so forth. And as soon as we come for the PNP, it's just another PNP tete. And
You think if Cartel were to lend his endorsement to any of these um, would-be leaders or leaders, you don't think that they would suffer from a stain? You think that people can take Ralph Gonsalves seriously if he enlists Vybz Cartel in an official promotion? I mean, we've seen him here and there talking about St. Vincent and come to St. Vincent. St. Vincent has great health care. But were he to seriously enlist him, were the PMP seriously to enlist a man like Cartel, do you think that they could avoid that stain?
well, what you have to understand, Keith, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, what you have to understand is that this is not how Cartel's influence over his public works. These people are not sending Cartel out to get votes. They simply want him to bring Gaza nation to the polls. All Cartel have to do is say, sing an orange and green song and say orange a do it. And make sure if you do it. And make an X with him finger. That's it. He, he can charge them any amount of money just to do that. He he don't
That's
have to go
interesting
around.
because not long ago it would appear that Andrew Holness capitalized on the Clark song when he was trying to fashion himself as this young hip leader that was connected to the Jamaican people. The Green Clarks, everybody remembers that. And it's ironic that that was you know piggybacking on Vybz Cartel Clark's song.
Exactly. And people have no idea how much that contributed to Honest's popular. Even the other day, he was modeling the Clarks again. He Clarks in his speeches. I mean, that Clarks thing was a real phenomenon. And you see, let me tell you, the you talk about the Messiah that people are looking for, and Vibes Cartel is as good a Messiah as any. Vibes Cartel has, through what politicians were supposed to do, through their interaction with people and their gathering together of people and their galvanizing common mass support, would be able to be the voice of the people because of the backing of the people. And since politicians have completely abdicated that role, there's been a vacuum. And this vacuum is complete across the social spectrum. And this is where the importance of vibes is really crucial. There is no public leadership because all public leadership has been compromised by the two parties themselves. There is no top teacher, no JTA president that's not politically affiliated. There's no police federation guy that's not politically affiliated. There's no heads of churches that is not politically affiliated. You see what I'm saying? There is no bulwark in the society. There's no trade unionist that's not politically affiliated. There is no public figure who can speak on behalf of the national good that is not politically compromised or affiliated. And that leaves the field open for Vybz Cartel.
What do you say to people who turn their noses up at even the thought that an old prisoner, old convict, an old bleach out face boy could even have the influence to sit with, much less campaign with, leaders of government? Is it naivety on their part, or they want to hide from what they know is coming?
It's a little bit of both. World leaders have wined and dined with the most unsavory of characters before because those characters had particular influence over a segment that could deliver an election. And really, Cartel's influence to me is something beyond anything we've ever seen before. I mean, we've had so many influential DJs. They've influenced the slang, they've influenced trends, you know, but none of them has had even a fraction of Cartel's influence. After Clark's, the price of Clark's doubled to tripled and has never come down. It has never come down. Look how long after, well, I mean, he's still mentioning, up to last year, he was joking about in Clark's, the Prime Minister. You see? So, apart from the commercial influence, he was the first DJ that I heard other DJs put his name in their song, like just to get a forward. Like that was shocking to me. Then, if you go in any bus or robot taxi, now will say, "Well, Leighton, where are you from?" They always used to play, not fit for airplane music in these vehicles. True indeed, but there were certain boundaries that were not crossed. I remember the time when Cartel started, the time when that song came out, Girl, me want F you. That was like just a green card that Cartel gave the whole society to just be as crass and as raw as ever. And I saw like it might seem like pearl clutching, even though I'm not a pearl clutching kind of guy and so forth, but I felt it, and I was joking with a friend and said, right now, if a video come out with Cartel sodomizing a man or even a boy, and you can see, well, that is a male, and this is Vybz Kartel. They would say is AI, they would say is Photoshop, they would say is this or that, and then they would turn on the person. When they couldn't deny any of that, they would just turn on the person that leaked it. He is that popular and people that conditioned. And this is the reason, this is what makes him such a good political tool. He don't have to say, yo, right now, that and be like an intelligent guy like on Anthony Miller Entertainment Report. All him have to do is say, just put in a lyric, say, just do a dub plate for PNP. That's all. Just do a dub plate for PNP. And that's it. Gaza Nation gone. Listen,
Whoa, scary
you see when
time.
we say, you see when we say the man say, yo people, save up for the money, you know. I don't know if you look in the comments, people from Trinidad say, mommy, oh, sell already. Man from Guyana say, him kidney gone. It, people, the people who are saying, boy, what a sorry past we've come to. Should I think about the sadness of the past when people they are bringing pep and every other little thing for water down the education system. Them should I think about that when so compromise every aspect of society that the people left without any heroes, left without any concept of morality or rectitude, probity, integrity, honor. So what the system tell them is worthy of honor is the ability to be commercially successful and exercise naked power.
Black excellence.
Yes, and when cartel say to people, yeah, if we say Gaza do this, Gaza do it, and we have the power in Gaza, them say, yeah, Gaza nation. Because what happened, is like, you speak the word, teacher. Just you say it. When you say it, it can happen. And we are going to make it happen. That's the zeitgeist. You see me? That's what's going on. And that's what every politician worth, you know, the name can see and know. They don't have
He's
to.
the ultimate influencer.
Exactly. It's like he was the person for whom the term influencer was coined. The ultimate, without trying, him just have to say, this way I say, and that's it.
Kush,
It's
sorry,
also
go ahead.
also the only DJ I've ever seen his age that is completely intergenerational. So his when I say he could easily swing the election, like, and as I said, without any serious compromise on the part of the PNP to carry him on a stage and thing, just leg on the door plate. And everywhere you go until election time, make sure it says an orange kerchief. That's all.
Wow. Wow.
Even if you switch it up, white someday, black someday, blue someday, you're never go near green and orange 3-4 day out of 7.
All right.
And the dub plate and you're gone clear.
Kush, I see you've joined the stage. Welcome to tonight's edition of Truth Gangsters. What's your take on this? Do you think Cartel, his influence, is strong enough to have an impact on political elections?
All right, so it's kind of tough to say, but it's a possibility. It's like a double edged sword in a way. All right, because we see that Cartel was able to influence the dancehall scene or the dance, which is a large part, a large part of the voting population as well, and the young people. And he has, I think, as what he has said in an interview when he was asked if he think that he still have any influence in dancehall, and he stated that if we look at the current dancehall sensations, the majority of them kind of look like Vybz Cartel, right? So obviously, him influence has become the influencers. He has influenced the influencers who is now influencing the people, right? So I definitely think that he has the capacity or the influential capacity to sway the young voting population. Additionally, Vice Cartel represent the society is full of contradiction, right? It full of contradiction. And Vice Cartel was one of those artists that came out and that was picking a side. Is either we're going with this or we're going with that, but we're not working with a contradiction. So um in a Jamaica people bleach and is a style, or people bleach because they want to look pretty or look better. Just bleach because people I tell you say brown is good. From your brown, you're soft and nice. And if you're dark, you're tough. So society has said that, but yet still you want get vexed with me cause me bleach. Contradiction. Um a man want him wife and him want a war. Or that dynamic of the Madonna and war concept, but yet still we want to pretend at work, we want to pretend in society like everything is okay. And also the abnormality of the society of making small groups being the dominant of the society. Cartel represent that. Cartel is, and we live in a society now where people don't even want to speak the truth because it's so negative. So if a one is bleaching them skin, you can't even say to someone, say, yo, this is self-hate, no matter how much you want to say it is a style. We can change next week. It's self-hate. You can't do that no more because it is it is negative. So we live in a society where even the truth now is negative. Speaking of any consciousness is backward. So and also everybody don't know so politics is con, right? People go political meeting for either collect some money or collect some food. People vote for a party because him say him can put two full cube in a year place, or him can build up your company, or him can, everybody knows, again contradiction, everybody knows the politics. So yeah, it is a possibility. But the double edged sword is that society still have a consciousness. So if him do sway or lean to one party, then if the next party is serious, them can run a consistent campaign on how the society is in a degenerate state. Because a known, quote unquote, known criminal is the forerunner for X party. So a double-edged sword where, if him, it can be used for and against him.
You laugh late, but I'm interested in your response because Jamaicans already think that their politicians are criminals. So, thief
Yeah,
never like to see thief with
yeah,
dog bag.
they know that their politicians are criminals. What Vibes is doing is, in their minds, evening the scale. I'm sure by leveraging his own people power as a common dancehall artist. him can rub shoulders with all of the Kamina Johnson Smith, the lawyers, the doctors, the Indian chief them. Right now, Vybz can run as independent and win that constituency. There is no campaign the JLP can do about degeneracy. Look on George right. And how degeneracy take over the society. If you
Darren,
look at the
Vaz,
JLP,
all of them.
then what them do? What them gonna do when dub play time come for election? Don't draw for TJ, don't draw for Skeng, don't draw for Vibes. A joke thing. So they are not in a position to say no. This is the Pied Piper of Jamaica, and them just have to go with the tune. And if them see say the tune are gonna lead them to certain destruction, at that time, then try get rid of the Pied Piper. Till then, they're gonna ride that tune for as far as it can take. Because them realize the people them entranced by it. Like vibes really can't do nor say nothing wrong. And people when have no opinion and nothing are not really looking to nothing. From him say Gaza, at this you say at this where they teachers don't talk. That way.
Kush, the idea of trying to show the degeneracy of Vibes Cartel by other groups, even if it's non-political groups, isn't it a bit too late now? As it's almost as though you feed the dragon till the dragon get fat, and now you want to curb the dragon's meals. Isn't it too late?
Well, I don't know. As it has been called out, I think. Um, like when he was really popular, I guess prior to the whole court case and everything. Remember he was in the news a lot. He was being called up. Not him alone, but other artists was being called up by government to either try it and solve them the conflict between each other so they can soothe society. You know, um, trying to ban their music in some way or some form. It has been, but again, the contradiction. There's just too much contradiction. You can't be you can't be having a movie where a man making $11 million to play a murderer, and I can access that movie, but yet still you're telling a next man that him cannot. Him saying pretending to him pretending to be a whatever him pretend to me. We want to stop him. So the contradiction, it just it just that's why Cartel is not that smart, Him just as we call bare face. Him just don't care. And you kinda in this society when you have so much contradiction, when you bare face, you're kinda one step ahead of everybody. See? So people call it out, but you can't call it out when you do it. You can't call it out when you're in league with it. All I know it's kind of dangerous to use him as a political platform or use him on your political platform because it can be easily said. As I say, society still don't that consciousness in society still exists. No matter how much this man is free or whatever. Not saying Kartel is a criminal, but just for what he's saying. There's still a consciousness in society. So once them tap into that consciousness, then it would be detrimental to anybody who use him.
Leighton, this idea that Cartel is not really masterminding his life or his movement. It's really just his popularity is as a result of lost people, sheep nation, useless, worthless, vulgar Jamaicans. What do you say to that? Because I've seen interviews where Cartel has said he studies Machiavellian writings, he reads strategy, war strategy. What do you say to people who dismiss him as just a hurry come up, dry eye, bare face scoundrel, and the problem is us and not him? The problem is his
Um,
followers, sorry, not us.
I think that they are deluding themselves the same way people delude themselves when they dismiss Hitler as a madman. Oh, he's a madman. And Carter is just him lucky. He's just a lyricist and him just a catch a wave. And they, they, the I didn't have to know that him read Machiavelli and what have you to know that he's very much the author of his story, and the things that he does are very calculated. And what's brilliant about him is that the state of the nation that has him in this headlong embrace is very much contributed by him over the years, layer by layer of probity, of and not even decorum. It's something more or something deeper than that. And it's grooming is the word. Cartel has groomed the nation to the point where it cannot rely on any principle to resist any of his advances. And the nation's parents, if that is what you want to call PNP and JLP, are looking on helplessly and, wanting to invite him to coffee and to dinner and to try to, see how they can put his influence to work on their children for their benefit. But one thing you must realize to the political parties, how they think. Cartel is no different than Jim Brown, than Dudus, an expendable vote getter who, when his usefulness has outlived itself beyond the last cycle of vote, can be eradicated, eliminated. So they will ride the tail of that tiger until it's time to put that tiger to sleep.
Kush, if Cartel is an influencer, we know that all influencers, they don't work for free. Influencers have to be paid by the company or the persons relying on their influence. What is the price to be paid in this political arena to Cartel for his influence? Will it be the politicians? Will it be us? What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. Well, it's as long as it's the politician, it's going to be us. From the politician, it's going to pay for his influence. It's going to be us paying. But the cost to have Cartel influence probably work out for their benefit because Cartel was able to be successful unlike other dancehall artists without going to the first world countries. You know, he was able to influence Jamaicans and people, Caribbeans and people outside to come to Jamaica to make him successful. So probably would be a worthy spend, but definitely it's going to be the people who's going to have to pay for that if he's being used as an influencer. Either way it go, the people them going to have to pay for that. It should make very interesting international news as well. Um, seeing a politician using Kartel as an influencer. Um,
Well, it's already happening. It's already happening in St. Vincent. So the time is now. Leighton, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know what his plans are, but I know that he will extract a fair pound of flesh. Uh, and I know, given his antecedents, that he will, his pound of flesh will benefit him, not even necessarily the members of his crew, and definitely not the wider society in any shape or form.
Bob Marley said, "Never make a politician do you a favor, or else he will own you forever." And if we are to believe that Cartel is calculating and decisive in his actions, should the nation be concerned? Should we be worried about this pound of flesh that you speak of, and Kush's suggestion that it is ultimately us who will have to give up this pound of flesh?
Look here. Um, Gaza nation is the kingmaker. Okay, so the king exacts his tribute. Is the way of the world, you know. Like you can't say you're getting married, but you want to remain a virgin. That's not how the world works. So whatever the price is, just what we have to pay. If the PNP says that no matter what happens, it is better for us to be in power than the JLP, whatever is necessary to make that happen. This is why we turn a blind eye to Zeke and the other, Boldy and whomever, because they are in service of political ends. So we wink, wink, we nod, nod, we make do until the people them just get too big for them bridges, and we have to dispatch them. Hear me saying these are the things that the politicians do in our name because they are the most undispatchable group. And then we turn around and say, oh, you know, these boys got too big for their britches. But Gaza present a different challenge, a different challenge, a completely different. It's something that has never been seen. You know that somebody by mere suggestion. Right now, if can't tell people to go read a book, them go read a book. Right now, if Cartel come out and say Gaza nation, we not done, You think we don't know about where them putting a ray, all a page ray. Hey, Gaza nation, I mean, take it for fool. And I eat that, the Gaza nation read it, and social media, obviously, you go see chapters, this is what Cartel they are talk about, and ray. It straight, is it? Is and here what happened. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge it because they feel bad to know that he has that influence, which is another thing I can't get over with Jamaicans. Saying that, pretending that it's not there, it's not gonna make it go away. Pretending that it's not there is not gonna make it not affect you. You know, pretending that it's not there is not even gonna make you feel better about yourself. Because there it is. You still can't buy a clock. You still have to save to buy clocks.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Kush, there is a lot of talk about the fact that Cartel is a marked man and that his days are numbered just by virtue of the fact that he has many enemies. Some have suggested that he has enemies by virtue of his alleged association to criminality. Some say he has enemies within the state, political enemies. But outside of all of that, can a man with so much power, as Leighton rightly described, so much power of influence, can he be allowed to be left alive? Isn't this a point on which the Jamaica Labour Party and the PMP might unite? That they have one common enemy? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, it's a possibility if what you're saying about him is true, about his ties to criminality, then it's a possibility. Um, Politicians, I think that it will be risky for them to, if that's for them to attempt that or even try that. There will be a stain upon them that will last for a long time. So I think definitely avoiding cartel might be the politicians' plan of action. We haven't seen any politician in Jamaica that has come out with Vice Cartel in any way or side with Vice Cartel in any way, or even mention his name.
But Kush,
Sorry,
if the attempted assassination on Bob Marley was politically motivated,
it's
why
attempted assassination.
on Bob Marley,
Oh well,
why wouldn't
that's
they?
because Bob Marley was pushing or was able to push a socialist view. So even though Bob Marley wasn't saying it, Bob Marley was their philosophy was socialism. So automatically, no matter what Bob was siding with Manley through the works that Manley was doing, so he was siding with him. So cartel now, cartel political um involvement is more on a smaller scale. So it would be like who will win within the same system. So it's not a big. I don't think it's a big issue, or can be compared with a Bob Marley and a Vybz Cartel
No, I'm
because
saying that I'm just responding to what you said that they would be afraid to commit any acts of violence against him. Is what I'm saying?
well, as I say, it was a bigger. It was a bigger cake. It was a bigger prize. It was something big, something major to lose. With Vice Cartel, I don't think there's nothing much to lose. Either way, there's not much to lose either way. As I say, I don't think he's that as smart as people is saying. I think that he's bare face, and what has made him popular is not that he's a good writer. It's not that we're saying, yeah, man. It's literal that Vibes Cartel has been towing the line or going over the line, doing things that other people are wondering if them should do and singing about things that people are wondering if they should sing about. So it's not that, not, and this is probably my opinion. It's not, I don't think is calculating, you know, um, because I don't know how what's the longevity of his music, if because it's a part of the system. If it's not going through the stream or the channel, I don't know what's the longevity of it. It's not marketable in the sense of corporate Jamaica not using it, or corporate world is not using it. So I'm not sure. So I just don't know why they would want to assassinate him within the political scene, outside of the embarrassment that, yeah, the state made an made in has embarrassed Jamaica they are saying that Cartel is a known criminal and them couldn't convict him or keep him in prison.
Leighton, does it matter if a man is smart or not? If him have that amount of power, what's the relevance of his brilliance in a conversation like this?
Well, to begin with, brilliance is a man can be a brilliant musician and die broke because he was far from brilliant in his finances. So, whether Cartel's smart enough to write him lyrics or whatever, the fact is that he is in a place of unprecedented influence and unprecedented power, especially commercial power. Especially commercial power. Like anything that this guy, if people see him with something, the craze that's gonna be for that thing, he can automatically go to anybody and say, yo, say, me that use your product and it's nice, it's nice, but nobody never see me do it, I just me to myself use it and say it's nice. That's all him have to do. Him don't even have to do that. Him just have to make somebody call and make the people them know, say, yeah, man, see, the teacher sit down side of me. Teacher say something. Yeah, teacher say, I'm willing to do a live with Ray, and where I say. I don't know, not even where I say. Teacher say, him want a million, 10 million every time him touch a thing and see what happen. Like, literally see what happen. It's not about, once a man know that him have that kind of power, once a man have that kind of power, it's a folly to consider whether him smart or not. The only thing to consider is whether he will use or abuse that power. And with Cartel, say, he will use and abuse it to the fullest extent.
But late they spoke of Jim Brown, right? And the fact that many of these men are viewed as expendable vote getters. Why would Cartel allow himself to be used in that way? Don't you think he has his own plans rather than to leverage another man? That doesn't sound very cartelian.
No, man. I think that Cartel is tickled pink at the idea that that the he could determine the election. Now, if you are the kingmaker, you are in a position of extreme influence, extreme power. But as the laws of power tell you, at your most powerful, you are also often at your most vulnerable. I did a piece in one of my Facebooks about, I said how an independent party could gain power is, and this happened right about the time that the election was almost tied. I said, instead of trying to thin out your candidates among 60 constituencies, focus all your attention on a constituency that has never repeated. It's always JLP, PNP, JLP, PNP, JLP, PNP. So it's not for either one really. Focus everything on that constituency for like 2 or 3 cycles. No, sorry, not 2 or 3 cycles. Like no more than 2 cycles, but you don't hope for it to take that long. But focus all your attention on it. Win that one seat. In the event that you have to break a tie, you become the kingmaker. And then I started to think what would happen to that kingmaker, and they would kill it. They would kill it as soon as they had a chance because neither of them is prepared to deal with the demands that that kingmaker might make. Or they won't kill him up front. They'll say, well, kingmaker, we're at your mercy. State your terms. And they might even smile through grimaces at certain other terms and say, you're the kingmaker, we comply. And then, you hear that, you walk off the balcony and you sleep, you had a bad hunting accident out of season. Whatever. You're not
And we
gonna.
know that has happened many, many, many times throughout history.
eh,
That wouldn't be
eh,
anything new.
Precisely. So at the end of the day, he will. But you see, the thing about it is, I believe he is shrewd enough to to deal with them straight up, so that they don't think that they have to get rid of him. That they think it would be better for them to play ball with him. And he, of course, but he has a lot of secrets for them as well. And big man thing, I don't see any way he lives out to 2026, to be honest with you.
Wow.
I don't see him making it to 2027.
Interesting. There has been a lot of talk, especially since the recent viral Buju video, about how Jamaicans have allowed dancehall music to be denigrated and vulgarized. Long gone are the days of our stalwarts in reggae music and even some in dancehall that would push for conscious music. And many of them say it's because the people don't want that kind of music. And so, to the extent that Jamaican people have allowed these perverse elements to dominate dancehall music, where people talking about dung in a throat, all kinds of horrible things that people wouldn't think to put on record 20 years ago. Are we going to reap what we've sown? Are we to be blamed for this level of influence that someone like Cartel has?
He definitely helped that process along of making what that Vybz Kartel become very very popular dancehall artist, but we had a lot of help in it as well. Um, I say he's not talented, but the the wanting to break away from the norm and the society that keeps telling you need something new. Um, you should give this a chance. You shouldn't question one's decision, one personal decision. All these things in society was also pushing against our better consciousness. our better self, you know. Um, and we allowed a lot of things to take to take hold of the society. And of course, we put most of these so-called conscious artists, we put them aside. Again, a lot of these conscious artists wasn't really relating to the people anymore. Um, the people could buy shoes, they could buy food. Singing about poor people that suffer, not necessarily cussing it no more. And them definitely not no Peter the China Bob Marley when it comes to the political stance. So it was very easy for Vybz Kartel and that kind of energy to take over. But it's definitely we supposed to get the blame for that. But we had a lot of help in doing that.
Um, Keisha, I'm so glad you brought up Sizzler, because if I'm to be honest with myself, for a period of time, Sizzler was the rival Cartel in influence. I remember when I came back to Jamaica from Barbados Law School, Norman Manley Law School up Mona. I know he's from Orlestone proximity. And I know this sounds dramatic, but this is like the way it was. It was like the breeze carried Sizzler's name. All you heard was Kalanchi, Kalanchi, Kalanchi. Babylon, get them a ride for their money was like everywhere. The number of people that told me that they stopped eating pork through Sizzler. Like, it was really, I thought, you know, anyway, let me not get carried away. So, you're right. Yeah. Look here. A lot of people changed their diet through Sizzler. A lot of people became Rastas through Sizzler. And Sizzler never preached nothing about you have to turn Rasta or, you know, advocate in his music a particular kind of. He was just being himself and talking about truth and rights. And when people talk about, like, conscious music and how much more attractive gun music is than conscious, black woman and child, black woman and child. Look here, right now, if Vybz Cartel decides, say, Gaza Nation, they say we know do conscious music and do too conscious tune in a Vybz Cartel style. It's it's That's what makes music so powerful, the messenger. That's why one person can sing that's why two artists can sing a song and the whole world don't know that one artist sang it first. Because when the second one sang it, it's like it never did sing before. It is what it is.
Kush, isn't it true that conscious artists could have a stronger influence if they wanted to? Some would say then just get red eye and lazy. We have people like Fantan Moja who started out on a somewhat good footing, even though, his quality of music wasn't that great. Coming out with songs like Am I Pum Pum that isn't it true that the conscious artists just got lazy and they got red eye themselves, and it's not that Jamaican people didn't want to hear conscious music. Talk to me on that, Kush.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. Um, all right, the society in which these artists were in at the time. So we're talking about what the 80s coming up. Yeah, the late 70s, early 80s.
No, man, I'm talking about the 2000s. Sizzler, Capleton. Those men influence were extremely powerful. What happened to them and their disciples?
Yeah. When Sizzler stopped singing about black woman and child and start talk about blaze up, chalwa and sex up them gal, yeah. You know, me not even know what to say. So when people are talk about money make them do it. Money? How money for make you do that? When you can't tap your commercial success of black woman and child all now. Who want to hear about blaze up child and sex off them gal? How could you lend your thing to that? So them really run away and left the field for them cartel and them.
The the conscious entertainers, as I was saying, they definitely had that pull or that influence that Vice Cartel have now, right? We definitely can pinpoint out of the contradiction that was happening with these artists that would cause the mass of the society not to continue down that lane of consciousness. But the point is that these entertainers were riding off the back of our leaders. They were pushing forth messages that was coming from, let's say, our ancestors or the people who actually do the work. Then the people them who actually did the work. So it is not necessarily that boy they lose the influence because them get lazy or lackluster, or them lose the influence necessary because of the contradiction, but them lose the influence because the society has worked very very hard to get us away from that kind of consciousness. So the idea of singing about Africa, talking about colonization, talking about imperialism, talking about capitalism, but not necessarily as direct as saying capitalism, has stopped completely, and it's been replaced by nonsense, things that doesn't mean anything. A man make an entire album about things that he likes to drive, things him like to wear, things him like to smell like. An entire record about things, and the society wanted that. The corporate world wanted that. So that's what I think that's what's happening is that, and our conscious artists, the laziness or the lackluster about them is that Now it's time to fix the contradiction. Because, as I say, our people, there's a country has solved the shoeslessness at the heart. So now a man can get a shoes for 5 bills. And if him probably if he get probably something get something for 4 bills, 3 bills. Get a slippers. So if you think say a man can afford a slippers or it just not cutting it. Because that's not what it was we were going for. That's not what we were fighting for. It wasn't to be able to purchase things within the system. We were fighting to destroy the system. So now the conscious artists them have the ability to go against the contradictions and actually mean what we were saying about. Make the move. Um outside that the society going to continue push the Vybz Cartel kind of vibes because it's beneficial to corporate to corporate world. It's beneficial to capitalism. And the artists them didn't don't understand that. I think them they think that they're the one bringing the consciousness to the people. They're the one making the people conscious when they're just the one bringing forth the message from the people them who did the work. Um,
Bob Marley was famous for saying, I think it was in an interview, when asked why is he so passionate about his work, and his response was, the people who do wicked every day don't rest. So why should I and I rest? I and I can't rest. And I don't think we can get around the accusation that our conscious artists dropped the ball. The fact that people can wear shoes can't be the reason why a man can't find something revolutionary to say.
well,
We had
but
a
he's not
whole.
studying, not cutting you, but he's not studying. A Bob Marley and a Peter Tesh, for example, not saying that these men are the revolutionaries of revolutionaries, but we're saying at the time of reggae music, you had to be conscious and not conscious by waking up and dreaming, but actually reading, getting information. So these men were actually having conversation. They might get shot. It's be a war going across Africa, so them can't go Africa. So and Bob Marley and Peter was going to Africa in the midst of Africans fighting against imperialism. So is the fact they're not studying to be able to give the people what they want. Them still relying or them still regurgitating when the system has already changed. The system has already made a change, They have introduced a different nation to 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 plug the holes that the working class was complaining about. The working class complaining say them don't have enough money to buy food. Okay then, here's some canned food, here's some bag food, here's some plastic food, here's some fake food. Plug that gap. Working class complaining say them don't have shoes, don't have clothes. Fine, plug that gap. When the real issue is that we want to be able to provide our own food and shoes. That was what we wanted. But because the countries are not studying, they're not reading anymore. They're not going to. They're not going to any rallies. They're not a part of anything. There's them speaking about things that happened in 20 years ago. You want them in a twilight zone. So that's the problem with them. They're not studying.
I don't know if I accept this reason of them not studying. What studying you need to do to look around and see that Chinese taking over Jamaica? What studying you need to do to have a commentary on the COVID vaccine? What studying you need to do to talk about the disparities of wealth between uptown and downtown that still plague us today? The fast food corporations are taking over Jamaica, replacing the farmer, replacing Coronation Market, replacing the ital shops. A man no need to read Amilcar Cabral and the philosophies of Marcus Garvey to speak out against about the rights of the people.
Boy, me agree there 100%, you know, Keisha. Here what? I pay a restitute them. I look sponsorship. Bottom line. Be a restitute them. I look sponsorship and white girl. That I bottom line.
Yes, and it seems as though, going back to something Kush said earlier, that unlike them, Kartel is not afraid to be himself. Kartel make a song about him white woman. They want to make songs about black women while dating white. So the people don't trust
Exactly.
them. Sorry, go ahead, Kush.
Just saying that again, again. What he just did was to do what every almost every dancehall artist, and I stand corrected, marrying women that don't look like the woman that Sizzla sing about Black Man Child. So if you're marrying women that don't look that way, or every time you see them look non-black, then where we do have some song about white woman. I do understand that. That makes no sense. Contradiction. How can you love whiteness or love non-black, but we don't have a song about my Japanese queen, my Russian empress? Vice Cartel now came in, didn't take much. It didn't take much, It just took some beer face, don't care, no care attitude, and some good English grammar.
What is your response, Leighton?
If my response is the same, people say the same thing about Trump. You know, he's a buffoon, he's a clown, him not that much intelligence, people are prop him up, you know, people are the this film, that film, you know. At the end of the day, this man lawyers go to jail and this man don't go jail. How dumb could he be? And to me, if you look at Cartel, the moves Cartel make from him come out until now. And when I say come out, I don't mean out of prison. From him come on the scene until now. To say that him not have sense or him not very smart is you're not you that's not to me that's not a reasonable conclusion. That conclusion sound at best biased. And that have nothing to do with whether you like or rate Cartel. That's just like if you can see somebody score hat trick every time and play football and tell yourself say I'm not really that him a good striker, them keeper you can't keep, the him a play with a good midfielder. Boy, the grass more extra nice, you know. At some point, he must score 3 goals every game, you know, I don't know how else to describe it. The man come out of prison after 13 years and lick the ground running like bam, trends, yes sir. Visit this other state, that other state, like the man all have a state itinerary, wonder to yourself, wait, who really, you know, who really, anyway. Anyway, that's my opinion. Cartel is the people that may have said that just I try underrate him because I don't know a ghetto youth or a bleachers, a dancehall, a tiki, a dirty boy, a vulgar. That not nothing to do with genius. That dirty boy, tiki, rare is the key to the next election.
Facts.
That's a topic.
Kush, no matter what we think of Cartel, we can't deny his influence. If you think that his influence is dangerous and something to be feared and worried about, what can we do to cut this influence down? How can we insulate ourselves or children from this type of influence? Now he's promoting interracial marriages. He's still promoting bleaching. He's gotten a new tattoo recently. How can well thinking Jamaicans protect themselves and their children from this level of influence?
Uh, well, I can use let's use Vybz Kartel words or his examples. The last interview I saw of him when he was speaking of how well his children turned out, he pointed out that what he did was made sure that his daughter doesn't listen to his music. He doesn't give his daughter access to him. That's the first step. If there is, we have to reach a stage where being talented within the society is something that is communal. So, for example, a lot of people there will be there's a lot of talented people about the place. Other people can write music that make you dance, or people can act that make you dance and laugh. We have to find a way how to not make that blur society, not damage society. I will find a way how to kind of keep that, how to control that, how because he himself has controlled it, because he know how detrimental that is to society. So him don't allow it to get to his children. Now, unfortunately, he can't really stop it from get to his children because it affects society. That's the problem that we're having, is that it's affecting a society. When the children them leave, most people can't protect their daughter from Vice Cartel music as Cartel can protect his daughter from his own music. Just like how most men are not going to get to the prison because they can't find so much money to pay um, a good legal counsel, right? So that's the problem that we're having. The most of the people, or a lot of the people who's promoting Vice Cartel can't protect their child from Vice Cartel. And we have to reach a stage in society where uh, being smart within the system, meaning, because what smart mean, it means that you get successful within an exploitative system. That can't be, we can't go with that. That can't be something that we are running with. So successful have to go change. We have to start to redefine what we call success. We have to redefine what we want and what we don't want, and be firm about it. If it means that we have to ban this, or it have to come out of the society and go to its own thing, then we do that. But that's the only way to solve it right now, um, if it's solvable.
Leighton, what are your final thoughts on the topic and your any predictions on the way forward for Cartel and his team? Do you think we'll see any appearances at PNP rallies? Will you think they'll go that far? Final thoughts for us, please.
Um, I think either of them or both of them, that is the PNP bigwigs, I think they would more than go that far. And the bottom line is that it doesn't matter what Cartel does. So if he does it more subtly, if he appears on the PNP platform, it don't matter. Even if Gaza Nation say, boy, our teacher do them place there. Anyway, that's so I think that if he endorses, supports subliminally or otherwise PNP, they'll win the next election. Simple as that.
Kush, what are your final thoughts and predictions on Cartel's involvement in politics and his influence and how he will levy this influence?
Uh, uh, I definitely think he has a lot of influence, especially amongst the young generation, I think, and even our generation, the generation leading up to the younger generation. But I think that
I'm a part of the younger generation. Just kidding. Go
the
ahead.
generation that created the younger generation, the generation that created the IG, the AI, the walking with my phone in my hand generation, which is us. So we created them, um, or we helped to create them. So they would side in because of the idea of abnormality in our society, the idea of going with abnormality, that normal is wrong, something is off with it, or we see it all the time, excessively fat people winning competitions and nobody saying anything about their weight. Um, yeah, people with outside Jamaica, it soon touch Jamaica. People can be born looking like something, but choose to be something else. Abnormality is taken over. So that is why I think it will have a big push in society. But if the politicians are smart, as I said, there's still a consciousness within society. If politicians are smart, they would avoid him like the plague. And just allow what's our friend name, the one that them bust him head. Them can just allow him to go on entertain Vice Cartel. But for Jamaican politician, I think it'd be best for them to avoid to avoid him, no matter how much influence he has.
But as a nation, no, I'm just there and me a meds. Me never have no political aspiration growing up. But I one thing make me would run for MP in the future. Just for show the people them say, bro, your life can better. Politician can do more. You know them here there? Cause me a meds it. You know how me da watch on the internet and me a meds it and me a say, blood clot. You know them day and age, Jamaica people still a black road and a protest about basic things. Good road, light, electricity, running water, whole heap of school, basic school, primary school, these have running water, proper sewage system. Them think they're basic thing when should even be no problem. Modern time now, in the 21st century, them think there should have been a problem. You know? So them
Cool.